Hello everyone, it's Brenda from Creative Treats. I'm here with another Boxes with Brenda video. Welcome. It has been a while since I've been here, so I'm really glad that you're back to watch me. We are going to be putting together this box today, and it is sized to hold mini slimline cards such as this. You'll see it is a little bit bigger than that, and I'll explain the reasons for that in a future. This is the envelope or an example of an envelope that I made from scratch that holds these kind of cards, and it also actually will hold these cards here, which are, I'll show you here, number 8 cards. These happen to hold mini slim line cards. These are a smidgen longer, but that's a good option to not have to make your envelopes from scratch. This is a a box design number 2 that I call it, which is a jewelry style box. And the way we put these together is I put tape along here because we're going to fold those down. And then what I do is I put 2 strips of tape here because what I want to do is fold these over, and I want these tabs here to be held in place while I get it positioned straight, and then this other strip will hold it in place. So I'm just going to go ahead and put those like that. Oh, actually, I'll do the assembly and then I'll talk to you about the sizing of this. So we peel the tape off here. You could use glue, but it is a bit trickier because if you use glue, then you would have to hold them in place while the glue set. So I find it quite a bit easier to use this 2-sided tape. You could also use a tape runner, but what I like about the 2-sided tape is often I'll have them made ahead of time, and then it's not sticky until you peel up the tape. And I think this 2-sided tape like this is a bit less expensive than using a tape runner. So that is my logic for using this 2-sided tape. If you're not familiar with it, it comes, let me just show you an example. This is one here, Suquag, I think, and then this is another type of one. A lot of companies will sell those types of things. So there we go. That is how this box goes together. Now, I'll just put this here for a second because I'm going to change this over here to show you the dimensions well, actually this box is not exactly these dimensions. After I did the prototype, I've decided that the best size will be just a smidgen bigger, because what I often do is these ones here are sized at 3 5/8. The slimline cards are sized at 3 1/2, and I actually like to give myself, when I'm making envelopes, and I have one here to show you how I do that in a second, I like to give, instead of an 1/8 of an inch wiggle room at the top, I like to give a 1/4 of an inch wiggle room at the top. So the envelopes that I make, you'll see here, they are actually a little bit higher. So I decided that I wanted to make a box that would hold these kind of cards regardless of which of the 2 envelopes that I am using. So that is the sizing that we have in the instructions, and these instructions are all available over at the Creative Treats Community Facebook group if you want to download them. The video link will be there for future reference, and the instructions will be there. So the boxes themselves are sized at 4 by 6 3/4 by 1 inch deep, and those are made from an 8 by 10 3/4 inch paper and an 8 1/8 by 10 7/8. And then here I have all the sizes, like where you need to do the scoring and the size of each segment of the box. So that is what this particular box here, is made, the ones that are going to hold these. Okay, and then the sizes right here are for the pattern paper to put on top. And then in the instructions, you will also find a summary of the pieces of paper that you need to cut And one thing I want to point out is that back here, this is sized for the bottom of the box, and it is from an 8 by 10 3/4. The top of the box is sized an 1/8 of an inch bigger, and it is 10 1/8 by 10 and 7, or 8 1/8 by 10 7/8. The other thing that I want to point out in the instructions is here, this is the instructions for how to make the envelope here, and it is sized from a 7.5 by 8.5 piece of paper, and it makes an envelope at 3 3/4 by 6 1/4. Okay, and that's the instructions for there. And then I also show the instructions if you happen to want to make an envelope for mini slimline cards from a score, not a scoreboard, but an envelope punch board, that's what it's called. There are the instructions in there. So they're all in here. And I just wanted to show you when you do the envelope, what I do is in this case, I've pre-stamped it, but this is showing you need to end up with a cross rather than a rectangle. So what I do is I put my scissors about a 1/16 of an inch in, and I make this tapered slightly on each of these edges here as I cut out the 4 rectangle corners, and then that is going to give me that more of a cross shape than this rectangle shape. And then I can put the envelopes together. So I actually quite like this paper that I use. I get a 32-pound bright paper from, it comes I think in 1,000 sheets at a time, from Staples or any office supply store would have a good quality paper, and I prefer to use that than printer paper, and it is a nicer quality than a lot of like just from the envelopes you would get from an office supply store. You can get better envelopes from lots of card making or better or stores that sell more stationery, that kind of thing. And the way that this goes together, you'll see I'm putting the tape on. So this is the tape for the top flat, so you don't need to get your tongue tasting a funny taste when you lick an envelope. And then the other spot that you're going to need to do, you saw that I folded it, so these flaps are going to go in here, and then you want this to come up here, and it's very important that you put the tape here to fold up, because then you get the right length. I have done some where I put the tape here, but then you end up with a tape strip there, and then all you have to do is peel that up like that. If you're having problems peeling up the tape, the trick is to push it down harder, because then the adhesive will stay and then the top adhesive will come. There we go, and then that will be going into the box. So again, I just have at the bottom of the box, I'll do one more quick assembly. So these flaps go in first, so the side flaps, so I peel off the tape and stick that down, and then these other 2 sides for the long edge, these flaps here are going to go into there. So when I peel up these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that second inner piece of tape to hold these flaps in place while I square it up. And you do want to try to make it as square as possible, because there is only an 1/8 of an inch difference between the bottom and the top of your box. It is helpful to have the bottom not too big and the top not too small, so that's why you want it to be quite square. And then, as I say, you can either, oops, I didn't get that quite square enough. You can tell because the little tab here is not, oops, yikes, is sticking out a little bit, and then the folding over doesn't work quite as well. All right, so that's going to hold this size. Oh no, this one is not holding it because by mistake, the instructions are correct, but my prototype was incorrect. Yeah, so it will hold this size like that, and this as well. And it's an inch deep, so you should be able to for sure get 5 or 6 cards into there. And, oh my God, what happened here? Why is this not going in? Oh yeah, it is going in. There we go. Oh, Sorry about it's been a little while since I've been putting together my videos, so I'm a little bit out of practice, but thank you very much for joining me to learn how to make this little box and how to put together an envelope that is sized to hold slimline cards. I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.